Hello, welcome, new and experienced teachers alike. If you are new to this channel, I'm glad that you found us. And if you are returning, thank you for supporting the channel. My name's Stephanie Lynn, and it is my hope that these videos can reach struggling teachers to help them get through the year, to let them know that they're not alone, and to let them know that there are some things that they can try to help make it through the tough times. If you find these videos useful, please like and subscribe to help me reach a larger audience. If you are a returning viewer, you may have noticed that my hair looks different. I have told my classes over the past several years that if I had a class pass a unit test with all the students passing, not using extra credit or corrections, they could pick the color of my hair. Well, this past week, my 7th grade life science class all passed the unit test, and they chose pink. So, for the next unit, I will be sporting pink hair in celebration of my students' achievement. Hopefully the next unit goes just as well, and they'll get to pick a new color, or maybe one of the other classes will take up the challenge, and they will get to pick the color for the next unit. Either way, teachers motivate however we can. In an earlier video, I mentioned don't bluff, positive or negative. If you tell students that you're going to do something, make sure you do it. Getting to the heart of the matter, today we're diving into something that's rarely talked about, but deeply felt by all teachers at some point in their career. I'm talking about imposter syndrome. And if you have ever felt like I'm not good enough, or I don't belong here, or they're going to find out I'm a fraud, then this video is for you. I have scripted this one a little tighter than I have my other videos because I want to make sure that I cover certain things fairly specifically. And so I apologize if you see me reading my script. If you've never heard of imposter syndrome, it can be simplified down to that nagging feeling that you have that you're not as competent as other people think you are. Imposter syndrome is actually quite common in skilled professions, and yes, teaching is absolutely a skilled profession. In a previous video, I mentioned some of the skills required to be a teacher. To give you a short recap, we have technical skills, people skills, business skills, organizational skills, and subject-specific skills, just to put a few of our abilities into broad categories. For teachers, imposter syndrome can show up as over-preparing for lessons, unrealistic expectations for a class period, avoiding leadership roles where they might be put into the spotlight, short-tempered reactions to small setbacks, such as a day getting off track, or just feeling crushed by constructive criticism. At some point in our teaching careers, every teacher, if we are honest with ourselves, has had to deal with these feelings. Teachers are especially vulnerable to imposter syndrome because teaching is personal. You're not just delivering content. You're connecting emotionally with your students, shaping lives for future success. With that, we tend to put an almost inhuman pressure to succeed on ourselves. Any failure, no matter how small, takes on huge proportions. We constantly compare ourselves to others. They may have different teaching styles, different subject matter, definitely different students. But if we feel that they are doing something we are not, we will latch on to that and beat ourselves up over it. Last on this list, but definitely not the last way teachers are vulnerable to imposter syndrome, is that we often feel that we should be doing more, and we set unrealistic expectations on the tangible impact that we do or should have on our students in the present. What we as teachers need to remember is that teaching is something that impacts the future of our students. Unfortunately, we often measure its success by the impact we have in the present. Add in things that we see through social media of what we should be doing, scores on standardized testing that can actually determine if we have a job or not, and the constant attempts to balance between our own personal lives and our school life, it's no wonder so many educators feel like they're falling short. As far as strategies to deal with the feelings that imposter syndrome brings up, you can't just fake it till you make it when you're talking about your feelings. There was a post in Facebook that was calling out one of the multiple sources of stress that teachers are feeling these days. And I was reading through the comments, and there was one that really stood out. The commenter saying that the problem was actually posts like the one on Facebook, the one that they were commenting on. They just wanted everyone to shut up and do their jobs, and everything would be so much better. The problem is when you bury the problems, they grow. And when they're brought into the light, they can be addressed. So today I want to address one of those problems, the feelings that imposter syndrome brings on, and hopefully give someone the tools to cope with the feelings of inadequacy in teaching. Let's talk about how you can reduce the feelings brought on by imposter syndrome. Not through toxic positivity like the commenter in that Facebook post suggested, but with real, actionable strategies that can work in the classroom and beyond. Imposter syndrome cannot be avoided, but it can be managed when it shows up. And here are 5 strategies that actually work. The first strategy to deal with imposter syndrome is to recognize when those imposter thoughts creep in. Awareness is the first step to separating your feelings from the event that triggered them. Once you recognize what you're feeling and why, name it. When those thoughts creep in, the I'm not good enough, or I don't know what I'm doing, or someone is going to figure out I don't deserve to be here. Pause and label them. Say to yourself, this is imposter syndrome talking, and it's not true. That simple act of recognition creates distance between you and the thoughts brought on by imposter syndrome. It allows you to label them as false and tell yourself that you are a highly skilled teacher and that you deserve the best. I know that you can't stop teaching and follow up with those feelings in real time. But try journaling with those feelings when you do have the time. When these feelings arise, write down what triggered them, how you felt, and what you know to be true. Over time, you'll start seeing patterns, and you'll be able to recognize when you're putting yourself in a position where these thoughts might arise. Once you recognize the patterns, you can prepare yourself for the possible doubts that might arise, and that is powerful. Those thoughts will always come, but they lose their power over you when you're ready for them. A second strategy for dealing with the feelings that imposter syndrome brings up is to reflect on the wins, even the tiny ones. Teachers often overlook the wins because they're focused on what's next. But every day, you're making a difference. A student smiled, a parent said thank you, a lesson clicked, everyone in class passed a test, and now I have pink hair. Recognize and celebrate the baby steps. One thing you can do to make this celebration tangible is create a victory jar or a digital folder on your computer. Drop in notes or screenshots or photos, anything that can remind you of your impact. On tough days, revisit it. It's not bragging, it's survival. Humans tend to focus on the negatives. It's evolutionarily beneficial to think about all of the horrible things that did or could happen so that we can avoid them in the future and stay alive. The problem is, in today's society, we generally don't have to worry about being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. So we fixate on other negative things, and they grow as we fixate on them. You do amazing things in your classroom every day. Do not fixate on the tough times and ignore all of the good that you do. Find a way to celebrate and let it help you through the future tough times. Strategy number 3, talk about it with other educators. I know that if you're a brand new teacher or just new to the school that you're in now, you probably haven't had much of an opportunity to get to know many of the other teachers. My school is just finishing up the first quarter. Grades are due, everyone's under a time crunch to get everything wrapped up, nice and neat with a bow on top to close out the quarter. But imposter syndrome thrives in silence. The moment you share what you're feeling, its grip on you is weakened. Find a trusted colleague, a mentor, an online community. Reach out and say, I'm struggling with feeling like I don't belong. And if you're unsure of who to reach out to, leave a comment down below and see what suggestions other teachers have come up with. You'd be surprised at how many experienced teachers have felt exactly what you are feeling now. If you reach out to someone with experience teaching, they can support you. Okay? They can let you know that the feelings aren't a sign that you aren't supposed to be a teacher. They're a sign that you're a human with feelings who cares about the quality of work that you do. And honestly, the teaching profession needs you now more than ever. Strategy number 4, practice self-compassion, not perfection. Okay, perfection is a myth. The classrooms that you see on TikTok only look like that when there are no students, and probably there haven't been students all summer long. The giddy, excited teacher who's showing off the newest craft thingy they made to decorate their classroom is actually hoping that the monetization of their video will at least pay for the supplies they had to buy to create that thing. No one has the perfect lesson plans. No one has the perfect timeline planned. No one knows for certain what they're going to be teaching in 3 weeks, and most of us actually aren't quite sure what we'll be teaching tomorrow, because that depends on how the students absorb what we're teaching today. Most teachers plan their quarters, their semesters, and their years knowing that their plan will fall apart the first day. There's a quote I have come to live by as a teacher, and it comes from the TV show Legends of Tomorrow. The character Leonard Snart always says, make the plan, execute the plan, expect the plan to go off the rails, throw away the plan. I personally think that this is a perfect encapsulation of the life of a teacher. While perfection is a myth, compassion is a skill. When you mess up, and you will, talk to yourself like you would talk to a student who is trying their best. Give yourself the grace that you would give your students. Try this. When you make a mistake, tell yourself, I'm learning, I'm growing, I am just human. That shift in self-talk rewires your brain over time, much like celebrating the small victories. Look at your mistakes in the light you do when talking to your students. I always tell my students that if they already know the skills that I'm teaching in class, they wouldn't be in my class. Mistakes are a sign that you are stepping out of your comfort zone to try new things. That's not the sign of a person who doesn't know what they're doing. That's a sign of a person who is growing into so much more than they were. Find someone to help you deconstruct what you perceive as a mistake and look at it from a different perspective. What did you learn? How did you grow? Mistakes are how we learn. Strategy number 5. Focus on impact, not image. Your students don't care if your bulletin board is Pinterest worthy or if you never actually change them. My posters have been up on the walls in the same place for several years now. And since I put them up with double-sided Gorilla Tape, they're probably not coming down anytime soon. The students don't care about things like that. Okay, they care if you see them. They care if you hear them. They care that you show up when other adults in their lives may not be. Imposter syndrome often stems from comparison, but who are we comparing ourselves to? Your students need you to be who you are, not to try and be somebody else. If we want to teach them to embrace their unique gifts and be the best version of themselves that they can be, how can we do that while trying to be somebody else? Ask yourself, what are you showing them? Okay, comparison kills joy. Instead, ask yourself, did I make a difference? And if the answer is yes, even in a small way, you're doing enough. Your students don't need perfect. They need you. And as a bonus tip, here is a final strategy. Celebrate growth, not just mastery. Okay. Teaching is a journey. You're not supposed to know everything. In fact, modeling curiosity and humility can in fact be one of the best lessons that you teach your students. If they ask you a question that you don't know, tell them you don't know the answer. Let them know that you'll look it up. And if you have time, you can look it up right then and there. Or you can write it down and tell them that you'll have the answer for them tomorrow. Then they'll look forward to coming to your class to find out the answer to that question that someone in the class asked. If you're conscientious about finding the answers, they'll begin to ask you some amazing questions. And you should enjoy the tangents that they take you down. So in closing, if you're feeling like an imposter, remember you're not alone. You are not a fraud. You're a teacher. And that means you are constantly learning, even when it's hard. Drop a comment below if this video resonated with you. Share a story, your strategies, or just say hi. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Help me reach more teachers who might need to hear this message. And as always, I hope the coming week is a wonderful one.